Okay, so good morning, future CPAs. We will discuss the completing the cycle for merchandising business. So the reporters are yours truly and Mr. Ronaldo Cayabyab Jr. and Miss Janelle Urbano. Next slide, please. So our topic is about merchandise inventory. So na-discuss nung isang araw na ang merchandise inventory is yung mga companies na bumibili na ng finished goods tapos ibinebenta ulit sa mga customers. So, at the end of accounting period or every January 31, the companies need for a physical count. So, most business rely on the actual count of goods on hand at the end of an accounting period. So, binibilang nila, sila mismo ang nagbibilang ng goods nila para makita nila kung ilan na nga ba yung natitira at para mai-record nila sa kanilang reporting. So, para to determine their ending inventory tapos yung nabenta nila, cost of goods sold. So, the procedure for determining the merchandise inventory under the periodic inventory method can be summarized as follows. So, number one, yun nga, lahat ng pagmamay-ari ng isang company is binibilang nila isa-isa. By the company is counted. So, yung number two, the quantity counted. So, halimbawa, ang nabilang nila is, let's say, 100 pieces. Yun ang nabilang nila. Mag-example na lang tayo sa isang supermarket. Di ba ang binibenta nila, finished goods na. So, ibig sabihin, sila na, ibibenta na lang nila yon sa consumers. Hindi na sila ang nagpo-produce. Finished goods na nilang binibili. So, ang gagawin nila, bibilangin nila kung ilan na yung natira sa inventories nila. Tapos, i-multiply nila kung magkano cost per unit. Kung magkano ang cost per unit nun for each inventory item. So, halimbawa, ang nabilang nila is 100 times kung magkano yung per unit niya. So, yun ang ilalagay nila sa ending inventory. So, number 3, add the resulting cost of each type. Each type naman ito. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng nabilang mo, dun sa number 2, lahat ng inventories na nabilang nyo, ipag-a-add nyo na yun lahat to obtain a total. So, ang amount na yun, halimbawa, sa supermarket, di ba, ang mga nakalagay doon, mga soaps, mga sabon, mga dilata, mga juices. So, lahat ng yun, i-add nyo para makuha nyo ang ending merchandise inventory. So, next slide, please. So, yan. Mag-example tayo. Example natin is inventory beginning. Halimbawa, wala pa tayong beginning. Nag-i-start pa lang tayo sa ating company. So, wala pa tayong beginning dyan sa year 2020. So, ngayon, bibili tayo. We will purchase para may benta tayo. So, nag-purchase tayo ng 100,000. So, ang cost of goods available for sale natin na pwede nating ibenta is 100,000. Ngayon, at the end of accounting period, which is every January 31, kung calendar year, January 31, 2020, ang nabilang natin is 10,000. So, ang nabenta natin for the year 2020 is 90,000. Yun ang ating cost of goods sold. So, for the year 2021, so yung inventory ending natin, yung nabilang natin na natitira sa ating inventory, which is 10,000, yun ulit ang gagamitin natin sa ating inventory beginning. 2021, beginning 10,000. Tapos, magpo-purchase ulit tayo ng inventory natin para maibenta ulit. So, bumili tayo ng 150,000. So, ngayon, ang available natin, ang pwede na nating ibenta is 160,000. So, at the end of accounting period, bibilangin ulit natin yung inventory natin. So, ang nabilang natin is 30,000. So, ibig sabihin, ang naibenta natin for the year 2021 is 130,000. So, yung inventory ending natin na nakalagay dyan, which is 30,000, yun ang magiging inventory beginning natin for the year 2022. And so on and so forth. Ganun lang. So, next slide, please. So, ito. Ano ang effects ng ating physical count of inventory? So, number one, to remove the beginning inventory. Bakit natin i-remove ang ating beginning inventory? Kasi nga, yung nakuha nating beginning inventory, yun pa yung hindi na yun current. Kumbaga, next year, mapapalitan na yung beginning inventory natin. So, i-remove natin siya. I-remove natin ang ating beginning inventory balance from the merchandise inventory account. Tapos, ita-transfer natin siya sa income summary. So, pa-next slide ako para makita yung entry. Oh, yan yung adjusting entries natin pag i-remove natin ang ating inventory beginning. So, debit natin, income summary, i-credit natin yung inventory beginning. So, pabalik ako. So, number 2, i-enter na natin yung nakuha nating ending inventory balance in the merchandise inventory account and to establish it to the income summary. Kasi, yun na yung current na nakuha natin. Yun yung nabilang natin. So, ilalagay natin siya, i-record natin siya. Tapos, ang kapartner din niya is income summary. So, next na ako. So, So, ang ating adjusting entries naman sa number 2 is debit, inventory ending. So, i-credit natin yung income summary. So, next slide. Adjusting yun na. Ngayon naman sa closing entries na tayo. So, number 1, close the income accounts. So, lahat ng income accounts, transferring the credit balances, ang credit balances na sinasabi dyan is our revenues in the income accounts to a clearing account called income summary. So, lahat ng ating revenues, kasi di ba ang ating revenues and yung number 2 is expenses, lahat ng yan is our temporary or nominal accounts, which means kailangan natin siyang i-close. Kasi, ang maiiwan lang sa ating reporting is the permanent or real accounts. So, kailangan natin siyang i-close. Yung number 1, close the income accounts, which is revenues, so, ang entry natin dyan is debit natin yung revenues, i-credit naman natin yung income summary. So, yung number 2 naman, close the expense accounts, transferring the debit balances in the expense accounts to a clearing account called income summary. So, ang magiging entries natin dyan is debit income summary, i-credit natin ang ating expenses. Sa number 3, close the income summary account. So, transferring the balance of the income summary account to the capital account. So, pa-next na lang ako para mas nila. So, yung number 1 natin, close the income accounts. So, yan yung ating entries. So, debit, inventory ending, so debit mo ulit yung temporary accounts with credit balances, which is your revenues, And then, i-credit mo ang iyong income summary. So, yung number 2 naman, yun yung close expense account. So, di-debit mo yung income summary, i-credit mo naman yung inventory beginning, tapos yung temporary accounts with debit balances or the expenses. Oh, wait. Credit balances. Credit balances revenues. Tapos, pag debit balances is expenses. Tapos, sa number 3, pabalik ako. Yung number 3 naman, close the income summary account. So, close na natin yung income summary account kasi temporary or nominal accounts din siya. So, ita-transfer natin yung balance ng ating income summary account to the capital account. Kasi ang ating capital account is permanent or real accounts, which means it is carried over from one accounting period to another. So, ang entries natin dyan sa close the income summary account is, next ako ba? S is debit, income summary, credit. For example, ABC Capital. Yun yung name ng company. So, pabalik ulit ako. So, close din natin yung withdrawals. Close the withdrawals account. So, ito transfer natin yung debit balance of the withdrawals account to the capital account. So, pabalik ulit. Ayan. So, pag nag-withdraw, debit, ABC Capital, so i-credit natin yung ABC withdrawal. So, next, wala na ito. So, thank you. Our next reporter will be Miss Janelle Urbano.
Good morning, everyone. Now, let's go to the preparing the financial statements. So, next slide. Income statement. For revised pass number 1, an enterprise should present an analysis of expense using a classification based on either the nature of expenses of or either the nature or their function within the entity, whichever provides information that is reliable and more relevant. Entities are encouraged to present the analysis of expense on the face of the income statement. Siyempre, as an accountant, di ba kailangan we focus on the more reliable, more relevant na informations. We don't want na masisira tayo dahil syempre hindi naman reliable yung mga or relevant yung mga information na binibigay. It should be reliable and relevant. So next. So let's go to the first yung nature of expense method. When we say nature of expense method, expenses are aggregated or combined in the income statement according to their nature and are not reallocated among various functions within the entity. So, yung nature of expense method, it applies to the small businesses and and small enterprises or businesses kasi nga there is no allocation of operating expenses between functional classification is necessary. So example nun it includes raw materials, consumable use, transportation costs, advertising costs, and other operating expenses. So let's go to the function of expenses. Expense method. This method, also referred to as the cost of sales method, clarifies classifies classifies expense according to their function as part of cost of sales, distribution or selling, administrative and other operating activities. This method provides multiple classification and intermediate references to highlight the significant relationship. So dito naman, yung function of expense method, 'di ba medyo familiar naman na kayo sa cost of sale, yun yung tawag also doon sa function of expense method. Dito nandoon yung operating expenses, operating profit, finance costs, investment revenues, and profit from continuing and discontinued operations. So next slide. In a merchandising business, net sales arise from the sale of goods, while cost of goods sold represent the cost of inventory the entity has sold to consumers. The difference between net sales and cost of sales is called is called gross profit. Gross profit. Then other operating income is added and operating expenses are deducted from the gross profit to arrive at operating profit. So, 'di ba yung once na operating income it is added, yung expenses naman deducted such as distribution costs, yung mga administrative expenses and other operating expenses. It should be deducted. Well, the operating income is added. Next, investment revenues, other gains and losses, and finance costs are considered to arrive at profit before tax. Then income tax expense is deducted to arrive at profit from continuing operations. Finally, profit from discontinued operations net of tax is taken to account to get profit for the period. So, ang ginagawa natin, 'di ba, pag operating profit na, 'di ba, pag inad yung gross profit tas other operating income, 'di ba, may total 'yon. Tapos i-deduct yung operating expenses, makukuha yung operating profit, 'di ba? 'Yun yung mga investment revenues, tapos ay hindi. So for the operating profit, deduct yung finance cost, which is or the interest. Tapos yung investment revenues i-add kasi income yun, 'di ba, yung investment revenues. Tapos makukuha na doon yung profit from continuing operations. Tapos i-add yung profit from discontinued operations, makukuha yung profit. So next. So ganito siya. Ganito yung format. First is get the net sales. Tapos deduct the cost of sales equals gross profit. Tapos, add the other operating income, makukuha yung total. Deduct the operating expenses such as distribution costs, administrative expenses, other operating expenses, you will get the operating profit. Tapos, subtract the finance cost, and add the investment revenues, you will get the profit from this, yung continuing operation, yung profit from discontinued, hanggang makuha yung profit. So, yung next, yung Excel na. So first, let's go to the worksheet. First is the account title. So cash, accounts receivable, merchandise inventory, store supplies, office supplies, prepaid insurance. Those are land, building, are assets. Yung accumulated depreciations, that is a contra account. Tapos, office equipment, asset, accumulated depreciation, office equipment is a contra account, accounts payable, salaries, interest, ano, long term notes payable. Tapos, yung tatlong yun are liabilities. Yung GD TOEA capital and withdrawal are all part of the owner's equity. Sales return and allowance, sales discounts are income. Purchases, returns and allowances, purchases discount, and so forth. Yun yung expenses. Di ba 5 types yun? The asset, liabilities, owner's equity, income, and expenses. So let's go to the Gloria de Toya income statement para maintindihan natin. Ito na yung sinasabi kong format ng fraction of expense method. Go first. First is let's get the net sales. So, nandyan yung gross sales na 2,460,500 less the sales returns and allowances and the sales discount, we get the 70,250 pesos. So, what we'll do is add deduct yung yun nga less, tama. Gross sales less yung mga sales returns and allowances and sales discount, we will get the net sales. So for the net sales, it's 2,393,250 pesos. So for the cost of sales naman, we have the merchandise inventory, the beginning, add the purchases, less, ay hindi muna. Purchases muna tayo mag-focus, yung 1,264,000. Tapos, less yung purchase return and allowances and purchase discount, makukuha yung 77,760. O di, ipag i-add yun, we will get the net, ay ililess yun net purchases. Yung, i-add yung, di ba yung transportation in, add yun, makukuha yung 1,268,600. I-add yung beginning inventory, we will get the goods available for sale. After getting the goods available for sale, ililess yung ending inventory na 483,000. Tapos, what we'll do is, hanggang makuha yung 1,332,600 na cost of sales. And what we'll do is, yung net sales, minus the cost of sales, we will get the gross profit. Next, di ba, operating expenses, anong, those are selling expenses such as sales salaries, transportation out, store supplies expense, insurance expense, total selling expenses is 303,000. 303,400 pesos. For the administrative naman, 282,640,000. Di ba pag expenses, ang sabi ko kanina is deducted. Kaya, i-deduct yung gross profit doon sa operating expenses, we will get the 493,610. That's the operating profit. Tapos, doon sa worksheet, may finance cost na 38,400 hanggang nakuha yung profit na 45,210. So, andun siya sa worksheet. Ayun, oh. Ayan. Nandun sa worksheet na 44 gilid. Best. Ayun yung profit. Ayun yung profit siya. Ayun, oh, yung 455,210. So, let's go to the next statement. And that is the statement of changes and equity. First, ang kailangan natin kunin is yung owner's equity na beginning, which is 593,920 pesos. I-add yung profit. Kaya dapat palaging inuuna yung income statement para makuha natin yung statement of changes equity kasi kailangan ang profit doon sa statement of changes and equity. So, the total is 1,049,130 pesos. Less the withdrawals of GD Toya na 200,000. 200,000. Hanggang nakuha yung statement of changes equity na owner's equity ng ending na 849,130 pesos. So, let's go now to the balance sheet. First is di ba, what are the examples of current assets? Nandan yung cash, accounts receivable, merchandise inventory, store supplies, office supplies, and prepaid insurance. So, we will add all of them and we will get the total current asset na 1,293,260. Tapos, the other one is the property, plant, and equipment. Those are non-current assets such as land, building, less yung contract account na accumulated depreciation, office supplies, less yung accumulated depreciation hanggang makuha yung 301,000. So pag inad lahat yung 301,100,000, 301,100 pesos. So pag inad yung total current asset tas yung total non-current asset or the PPE, for the PPE is 1,594,360. So 'di ba dapat ang balance sheet dapat yung asset equals liabilities plus owner's equity dapat mag-equals yun. So for the current liabilities naman, on the worksheet, we have the accounts payable, interest, salaries payable, interest payable. So we get the total current liabilities na 265,230. Non-current liabilities naman na notes payable due on June 30, that's a non-current for 180,000. Kaya nakuha yung 745,000. So doon sa owner's equity, ang ilalagay natin is yung ending balance nung capital, which is yung nakuha natin doon sa statement of changes on owner's equity na 849,130. Hanggang nag-arrive siya doon sa 1,594,360 pesos, I know, which is equal dapat. And its balance equal. Yun lamang. And the next reporter will be Miss Janelle Urbano.
Okay, so closing entries na tayo. So closing journal entries. Closing entry is a journal entry made at the end of the accounting period. So, ang closing entry is a journal entry pa rin na ginagawa at the end of the accounting period. So, paano ang ginagawa natin doon? It involves shifting data from temporary accounts on the income statement to permanent accounts on the balance sheet. So, lahat ng temporary account or nominal account na tinatawag natin o yung mga account na nakikita natin sa income statement ay i-close natin. All income statement balances are eventually transferred to capital account. So ito turn over natin sila or ilalagay natin particularly sa capital account. So closing process. So sa closing process, unang-una natin gagawin is to close lahat ng temporary accounts with credit balances at i-establish natin ang ending inventory. So second, i-close natin ang temporary accounts with debit balances and tatanggalin natin ang beginning inventory. Pangatlo is to close the income summary account and lastly, close the withdrawal account. So, para mas maintindihan nyo, meron tayong illustration dito. So, yung lahat ng income and expenses, i-close natin sila sa income summary account. And then yung income summary account, i-close din natin siya sa capital account. Sa withdrawals naman, i-close natin agad-agad siya sa capital account. So, meron tayong worksheet dito. Itong mga naka-yellow na highlight dito, dapat maging zero ang mga account balances ng mga yan. Dapat ma-eliminate sila or ma-close kasi yung mga account na yan is hindi na tina-transfer or kine-carry over sa susunod na accounting period. Kumbaga, lahat ng benta mo sa taong ito is benta mo lang sa taong ito. Hindi yung benta mo sa taong ito, magiging benta mo pa siya sa mga susunod pang taon. Next. Okay. So, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, lahat ng naka-highlight na yellow dyan, yan yung i-close natin. At titignan natin dito sa income statement yung mga amounts na i-close natin. So, para mas maintindihan nyo, next. Ito yung sinasabi ko. Wait, i-share ko yung dalawa. Wait lang. So, una natin gagawin is to close accounts with credit balances. So, lahat ng naka-credit, i-debit natin. And, i-close natin sila or gagamitin natin yung income summary account para i-close yung mga nominal accounts na yon. So, we have debit merchandise inventory ending, debit sales, debit purchase, returns and allowances, and debit, purchase discount. Hindi ko nasabi. Ito yung mga amount. And then credit income summary na 3,024,260. So, ito yung wait lang. So, ito yon. Meron tayong merchandise inventory na naka-credit. Ending yan na 483,000. Sales na 2,463,500. Purchase returns and allowances na 56,400. And purchase discount na 21,360. Yan yung ginawa natin na itong close natin using the close natin sa income summary account. So ipagpa-plus lang yan para makuha ito. And then lagyan natin ng explanation to close temporary accounts with credit balances and establish the ending merchandise inventory. So second, close temporary account with debit balances. Lahat ng naka-debit, i-credit naman natin. At gagamitin ulit natin yung income summary account. So debit income summary, meron tayong 2,569,050 pesos. Credit merchandise inventory beginning na 528,000. Sales returns and allowances na 27,500. Sales discount na 42,750. Purchases na 1,264,000. Credit transportation in na 82,360. Credit sales salaries expense na 225,000. Credit office supplies, office salaries expense, 171,000. Credit store supplies expense na 15,400 pesos. Credit office supplies expense na 12,040 pesos. Credit insurance expense selling 5,600. Insurance expense general na 3,600. Credit transportation out na 57,400. Utilities expense na 48,000. Depreciation expense store equipment 26,000. Credit depreciation expense office equipment 22,000. And credit interest expense na 38,400. So, dito, wait, balik ko lang. Lahat ng naka-debit yan. Yan yung in-entry natin, close natin sa income summary account. And then, lagyan na lang natin ng explanation to close temporary accounts with debit balances and to remove beginning inventory. So next, close naman na natin yung income summary account. So we have debit income summary na 455,210 and credit GD Toya Capital na 455,210. So nakuha natin yan by deducting yung yung income sa yung close natin na nung una na 3,024,260. Ito 'yon. Wait, saan na 'yan? Ito 'yon. Naka-credit siya kaya nasa credit section. Tapos 2 million, ilalas natin yung 2,569,050. Ito naman 'yon. Ito. To get the amount na 455,210. Tapos lagyan ulit natin ng explanation to close income summary account. Next slide. Ayan, i-close na natin yung withdrawal account. Using the capital account naman. So, debit GD Toya Capital na 200,000 and credit GD Toya withdrawals na 200,000. And then for the explanation, to close the withdrawal account. Nasa ano lang din yan sa worksheet. Ito yan, 200,000. So punta na tayo sa post-closing trial balance. So post-closing trial balance, a final trial balance is prepared to test the equality of the accounts after posting the adjusting and closing entries. This trial balance is similar to the one discussed in the service business except for the addition of the merchandise inventory. So bakit natin ginagawa yung post-closing trial balance? Kasi possible na makakommit tayo ng error after posting yung adjusting and closing entries natin. So it is important, it is necessary na gawin natin itong post-closing trial balance para matest natin yung quality ng mga accounts. Okay. So post-closing trial balance, final trial balance. So ito na yung final trial balance natin. Kasi 'di ba ang dami nating ginawa before this, meron tayong unadjusted trial balance, meron tayong adjusted trial balance, and then ito na yung last. Next, trial balance prepared after closing entries has been journalized. So 'di ba pinakita natin yan sa discussion natin sa closing entries. Next, it verifies that all the debits equal. It verifies that all the debits equals the credits in the trial balance. Pinapakita ng post-closing trial balance na equal yung debit tsaka credit account sa trial balance. It contains only balance sheet items such as assets, liabilities, and ending capital kasi lahat ng income and expenses natin, di ba, close na natin. Kaya meron na silang zero balances. Next. So meron tayong worksheet dito. Itong mga highlight naman na yellow na ito, ito lang yung ilalagay natin sa post-closing trial balance natin. And titignan lang natin sila dito under the balance sheet. Okay, so meron tayo, dito na yung post-closing trial balance natin. We have Gloria de Toya Traders, post-closing trial balance, December 31, 2018. So we have cash na 304,000. Ito yon, 500. Nakulangan ako ng 500. Accounts receivable na 484,200. Merchandise inventory na 483,000. Ito yon. Store supplies na 10,600. Ito yon. Office supplies na 6,360. Ito naman yon. Prepaid insurance na 4,600. Ito. Land. Ito yon. Ito. Building naman 202,600. Ito, andito siya. Accumulated depreciation building, naka-credit kasi, contra account, 82,500. Office equipment, 86,000. 50,000 accumulated depreciation office equipment, contra account, kaya credit. Accounts payable na 206,830. Ito yon. Salaries payable, 20,000. Ito yon. 38,400 na interest payable. Ito. 480,000 na long-term payable. Ito yon. And then, itong G de Toya Capital na 849,000. Kung mapapansin nyo, magkaiba sila, di ba? Kasi yun yung ginamit natin sa pag-close ng mga temporary accounts. So, nakuha natin yan. Ito, papakita ko sa next slide. Ito yon. Meron tayong beginning na 593,920. Ito yan, dito siya. Ito siya. Beginning balance. Actually, yan yun. And then, meron tayong 455,210, di ba? Papakita ko ulit sa inyo dito. Ito yon. Ito yon. 455,210. And then, nilas natin yung withdrawals natin. Kaya nakuha natin yung 849,130. Then add lang yan. Add din dito, dapat total sila. Yan, dapat total sila. Yun lang yung discussion natin for today. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig. Maraming salamat sa inyong oras. Sana may natutunan kayo.